Hi, this is Ali. Welcome to my channel. If you have subscribed, thank you very much. And if you haven't, please do so. If you hit the bell icon, you'll be notified every time I put a new video out. And in the description below is my email address and my link to my channel so that you can check out my other videos. So when we first get into manifesting, when we first start to use law of attraction, we start to manifest consciously because we're always manifesting since the day we were born. We've been manifesting what happens to us. But when we start to actually consciously do it and we start to being able to control what we're manifesting, we do get contrast. Now, in the early stages of law of attraction and getting into this, contrast will seem as a really negative thing. Contrast will seem as something that is just taking you straight off of what you think you want or you want, and it just kind of throws almost a curveball into everything, and it makes you start to question, can I do this? Am I doing this right? Why is it not working for me? What are my blocks? And you can start to go onto a negative spin because of the contrast that you can experience when you're manifesting. But as you get to know about law of attraction more, and as you practice it, you will start to realize that contrast is actually a good thing, because contrast shows you what you want. It actually shows you, it teaches you what you don't want when it happens, but it actually then makes you aware of what you do want. And by becoming aware of what you do want, it makes you actually put that out there to the universe. So the universe then realizes what you do want. So contrast is really good, but until we actually get into doing this more and more so that we get used to it, we treat contrast as being bad because we can react to it. And that's where we need to change. So in the teachings of Abraham Hicks, there are the 5 steps to manifesting. So step 1 is that you ask the universe for what you want. And step 2 is that the universe gives it to you vibrationally. That's just done. We don't have to do anything there. Step 3 is that then we align to it. Now that's the first thing we have to do, is we have to align to it. Now to align to it, we have to be happy. You have to stay happy, and you have to be appreciating your life and enjoying your life. And that's what step 3 is just aligning to it. Step 4 is becoming better at step 3. So once you really master this, then you get into step 4. And that is really, really staying aligned a lot of the time and not being thrown off of being aligned by the contrast. And then step 5 is that you actually go back to step 1, but you're in a different mindset at step 1, and you're not seeing the contrast then as a problem. You're actually seeing the contrast as the helpful tool that the contrast is. So that's what it's all about, is actually just seeing contrast for exactly what it is, which is it's a tool. It's a helpful tool. It's a way of us knowing what we do want. It's a way to show us that we don't want this and we don't want that, and then we do know exactly what we do want with this. If we had no contrast, we would not be able to keep manifesting stuff because we wouldn't know what we didn't want. So contrast shows us exactly what we don't want so that we can manifest exactly what we do want. So it really, really is, it's a helpful thing for us. Again, in some of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, she teaches about the sticks. Now, on the end of a stick, you've got the positive end that you're trying to manifest, and you've also got the contrast end, which is the doubting end that you can't get what you're trying to manifest. So each stick has its opposite end. When you light up your stick, when you light up your end for what you want to manifest, you automatically light up the opposite end, okay? So when you light up your end of, I want this, you instinctively light up, but I can't afford this, or how am I going to have that? So you light up that negative end, okay? It just happens. Now, the more you start to do this, the more you will realize that contrasting end is just there to, again, help you. And what you do then is you just acknowledge the things that have come up, the things that end is showing you, which are your negative blocks or your responses to what you do want, your negative thought patterns. So once that's highlighted, you can then break those down and deal with them. So you can then get rid of those. So you can basically replace them with something positive. So it could be that you're trying to manifest a holiday. So you've lit your stick up for this holiday. And then instinctively on the other end of that stick has come up into your head, but I can't afford a holiday at the moment. So straight away you've put the brakes on your manifestation because of that negative thought. So what you would do then is you would then work on that thought of, hang on a minute, but I will afford this. I could afford this, yes. By the time this holiday comes, I'll have earned so much. So yes, I could afford this then. Yes, I definitely will afford this. So you kind of turn the process into a positive thought and go more general with it, so that it is just a yes, but I could possibly. So make it, I could possibly afford it, and then turn that into yes, I will be able to, and yes, I am going. And by doing this, you remove that contrast, because again, that contrast on the end of that stick is just showing you what you don't want, which is you don't want to not be able to afford your holiday. So you are going to work through that. So like I say, contrast is a good thing because it just highlights the doubt in us, and it just highlights the problems around and problems that can come to us, and it just makes us work through them. Now, I had a real problem this weekend just gone, and it was an absolute nightmare for a female on their own. I was on a motorway travelling, and my tyre went, my drive side front tyre went, and I was going quite fast down the fast lane, and I felt all of a sudden I felt as if it was hitting the road hard, so I could kind of feel that the tyre wasn't right, and I instinctively thought, right, indicate and get back over. I had to get over to the hard shoulder, and the tyre actually went as I was going over, and then I could hear you can hear the sound of like you have no air in your tyre at all. Now I got over to the hard shoulder. The steering was fine. I didn't struggle to steer the car over, even though I was going really fast. I managed to brake in time. I took it slowly. I didn't panic. I got over to the hard shoulder, and when I was there on the phone then trying to sort out what I was going to do, a gentleman stopped who was coming up a slip road that was just about to enter into the motorway. So I was literally on this area where the hard shoulder was just about to end. So I was on the latter bit of the hard shoulder, and he was just coming up the slip road, but he stopped and pulled over, asked me if I needed help, which I did. He then helped me to sort my tyre out. And because basically my tyre had a slit in it. So in the back of my car, I have this stuff that you pump into a tyre to, if it's got puncture, it fills the puncture, and then you can reinflate the tyre. And that's what my car has instead of having a spare tyre. So you've got that stuff, you don't need a spare tyre unless you've got a split in your tyre, which we found out. So he puts this stuff into my tyre. It's then gone all over the road because this split, it's just come out of the split. So then there was like, I have no spare, that's it. Then thinking I'm going to have to ring the emergency services to get them to tow me somewhere. And then he just said, hang on a minute, let me see if my spare tyre will fit your car, which it did. So this really kind gentleman that I didn't know from anybody put his tyre from his car onto my car, and then I was able to then finish the rest of my journey. And as it worked out, although he lived 3 hours away from where he'd met me, he had relatives that were living near to where I was going, so I was able to the following day drop his tyre back to him at his relative's house so that he could then get his tyre back. And I could get a new tyre replaced in the morning. So my point of telling you this is that this was a nightmare, especially for a female being on your own. We were talking about 6:30 at night. It was an absolute nightmare. Your tyre going at any time is a nightmare when you're on your own anyway, isn't it? But when you're on a motorway, it's the scariest thing, especially when you're going quite fast, and yeah, it's just so scary. But what I'm trying to say is the fact that the universe planned this all out for me. It lined it all up for me, okay? So even though this was a nasty thing that happened, so that was my contrast, was the tyre went. But what the universe did for me, because I didn't panic, I stayed in my vortex, I stayed feeling good, I stayed aligned to my inner being. The car I was able to indicate and get back over to the hard shoulder without any other car coming near me. There were no other cars at that point that came past. So I managed to get straight over without going near any other cars. I managed to pull over onto that hard shoulder before that hard shoulder had stopped, because it was right coming up to the end of where that hard shoulder was going to stop, and there was no hard shoulder then for a while. So this happened just before, so I managed to pull into it, and then this gentleman showed up, somebody I never knew, showed up literally within 5-10 minutes of me being stuck on the motorway. So the universe aligned everything to help me out. So by me not panicking and me not treating this contrast as being this really, really awful thing, although at the time, yes, it did feel like this awful thing, but I did kind of just think, right, just chill out with this, Ali, because this is going to be okay. You will get out of here. This is just some contrast happening, but it's going to be fine. And that was the difference, is because I didn't react and panic. I just let the contrast happen. The universe then unfolded and took me down this path, and I just went with it. I didn't worry about it. I just went with it. This guy helped me. It was perfect. The minute he said to me he was going to see if his tyre would fit my car, I knew his tyre would fit my car. I had no doubt, because I just knew, and I always say to myself, everything's always working out for me. And I knew the universe was not going to leave me stranded on the motorway. The universe had put him there to help me, and he was going to help me. And I just knew that his tyre would fit. I just knew it would fit, and it did. And like I say, it all worked out perfectly. And as it was where I was going, I got there an hour after I was due to be there, but that was no problem. So what could have been an absolute nightmare, if I'd have allowed it to have been an absolute nightmare, if I hadn't have stayed aligned, it would have been a nightmare. Because I had faith in the universe and I know that everything always works out, I just went with it, and I literally just followed the path that unfolded in front of me. I didn't try to control anything, because I knew if I couldn't control anything. It was all out of my control. So I just went with it, because if you try and control something, you're going to change your path. But if you stay, you know, and just go with the flow, just go with the path that's coming, don't control it, don't try and control it, just go with it, it will work out, and the universe will take you down that path. So that's exactly what I did, and everything worked out perfectly. So that basically, this is what I just want to say about contrast, is that it's, you know, it comes, we can't have a perfect world where we don't get any contrast, because for a start, we wouldn't know what we do want, because that's what it's there to do, is it's there to teach us what we do actually want, because it shows us what we don't want. But also, life isn't going to be smooth, and if everything came to you easily all the time, you wouldn't do any work on yourself. You wouldn't work on yourself to be a better person, to manifest other things. You'd get lazy. So, you know, all these things come because it's making you do your inner work, and it's making you aware of what you do want in life. And the more you practice this, the more you manifest small things, because it shows you what you can have. You know, when you see a small thing, and it could be, like I say, you see something, or that someone gives you a free cup of coffee, or that someone contacts you that you haven't heard from in a while, or that someone gives you a nice compliment. Things like that, by just manifesting those small things, it just shows us what we really, really do want. And it shows us what we can have. And we can have the bigger stuff, because we can manifest the little stuff. It shows us, yeah, you know, you can manifest this, so you can manifest that. And it is that thing. If you can manifest buttons, you can manifest money. If you can manifest houses, you can manifest holidays, you can manifest relationships. If you can manifest small, you can manifest big. The only difference is that there's more resistance in that, which is more contrast in that, because it's a bigger thing that you have told yourself for so long that you cannot have, or that you don't get that. So that's the only difference. When it's a small thing, you instantly do it because you haven't got the resistance to it. But like I say, once you practice that, you will get the bigger stuff. So really, really keep going with it, and really, really know that contrast is not a bad thing. And when it happens, just acknowledge it. You know, just say, yeah, okay, this is a bit of contrast come in. That's fine. I'm going to deal with this, and I'm going to follow the path that's come in, and we'll see where I end up. And you will end up where you're supposed to be, and in a good place. It always unfolds for you perfectly if you just trust into it. So I hope that's helpful. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And thank you very much for watching. Bye.